Good morning, and welcome to the Unitarian Universalist congregation in Fullerton, California, an inclusive community dedicated to building a better world. I'm Reverend Robert Blair. You can call me Rob if you'd like, whoever you are, however you identify, whether you're in person or online, you are welcome here. UUCF acknowledges that this land is physically situated in the original ancestral homelands of the Ahachiman, Kizh, and Tongva peoples. May we have the humility and courage to help restore what has been broken and the wisdom to live into a new solidarity with indigenous communities and the earth. Before we get to our service, we have some announcements for you. On the first Wednesday of each month, beginning May 7th, we, with First Christian and Casa de Oración, will prepare a nutritious meal in the fellowship hall and serve it to anyone who attends. If you're interested in cooking or serving or generally helping out, please speak to Barry, who has been working so diligently on this, and so we give our thanks to Barry for your patience and tenacity in getting this done. We're planning a canned food hunt for the kids next Sunday, and we need your help. There's a special collection zone for your gifts in the narthex. So instead of searching for Easter eggs, we're doing a canned food hunt, which is really exciting. Show how much you love Fullerton on Saturday, April 26th by volunteering to help break ground on a new community garden. It's at Tara's Chance in Fullerton. There are only 5 spots left, but you can register at the website up there. It is lovefullerton.org. A couple of other announcements for you. Tasty Tuesday is headed for the California Fish Grill in Brea this month. Sign up at the welcome table or with Linda Duarte Wolf. It happens on April 29th. Is that right? Absolutely. Kyra will be filling in for Patrick with meditation happening in the choir room at 1 o'clock today. And now we invite Rebecca Duell Gallegos for an update on the pledge drive.
Good morning. In case you missed it last week, I'm Rebecca Duell Gallegos. I'm part of this year's stewardship team. Today starts the second week of our annual UUCF stewardship drive. And because pledge cards are only just starting to trickle in, we don't have an update to our thermometer yet, but we should have that for you next week. In the meantime, just a reminder that you may be contacted by a visiting steward who will be able to sit down with you for a conversation about your relationship to UUCF community and any hopes and concerns you have about its future. So my husband Ramon and I, we actually hosted a group of people for a stewardship visit yesterday, and we really appreciated getting to connect with members on a more personal level and hear everyone's stories of how they found the church, how they're feeling about where we are as a community, and ideas for what we'd like to see going forward. So I really encourage you, if you get contacted by a visiting steward, to say yes to having that conversation. If you don't want to wait for a stewardship visit, you are more than welcome to contact Leslie Mahaffey or Kathy Frickert for a paper packet that will include some helpful information about pledging and your pledge card. And if you prefer to do it online, we should be letting you know when the portal for online pledging is available soon. Finally, a reminder that our annual fellowship dinner will be the final event of the stewardship drive on May 3rd. Thanks and happy pledging.
We'll be sharing our joys and sorrows a little bit later in the service, so if you're in the sanctuary and you'd like to share the cards, they're in pink and they are in the back, and we will lift you up So you can fill those out up to the end of A Time for All Ages. We're having trouble with Facebook this morning and Zoom, so if you have relatives or friends that are trying to tune in this morning, tell them that we are working on that. And now it's time for 1 to 2 minutes of getting to know each other and saying hello, maybe an I love you, maybe a welcome and so glad you're here. Thank you. Oh, I got it. Time. Good morning.
Good morning.
All right, so today we are singing something we've never sung before. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about it, and then we're going to practice it just a little bit so you know how to sing it. So this song is called Hine Matov, and Hine Matov, I'm going to get this right. Una Neim Shevet Achim Gam Yahad. Behold, how good, how pleasant it is for people to dwell together in unity. And boy, that's what we are all about, and that comes from Psalm 133. In the Jewish world, countless services and life cycle events open with this verse attributed to King David. For those who derive inspiration from these words and the many melodies that are set to them, this verse provides comfort, engenders connection, and transforms gatherings. Throughout the year, when they sing Hine Matov, they're provided with the opportunity to reflect on Ahavat Chinam, a love that exists purely and without ulterior motives. Is that not the coolest thing? And its presence in the relationships we have with people in our immediate and larger communities. So, I'm gonna have you we're gonna walk through the words here. So, it's Hine Matov,
Hine Matov.
Umanayim,
Umanayim,
Shevet Ahim,
Shevet Ahim,
Gam Yahad.
Gam Yahad.
And then the second part of that is Hine Matov,
Hine Matov,
Shevet Ahim,
Shevet Ahim,
Gam Yahad.
Gam Yahad.
So pretty close the same. So it's going to go like this. Hine Matov Umanayim, Shevet Ahim, Gam Yahad. Okay, ready? Hine Matov Umanayim, goes. As we sing this, let's think of unity and of love that requires nothing in return. Ready? Now English. How good it is and how pleasant for people to dwell together. How good it is and how pleasant for people to dwell together. Good and pleasant, people in peace together. Good and pleasant, people in peace together. How good it is and how pleasant for people to dwell together.
Across the generations, we have carried the flame. We fought injustice, sang the songs, spoke for truth, and built something lasting. We join in the line and we carry the flame forward.
Across the generations, we are tending the flame. Hand in hand together, we share in the work of fighting injustice, singing the songs, speaking the truth, and we are here to build something lasting. We join in the line, and we carry the flame forward.
Across the generations, we have been nourished by this flame. We are singing new songs, breaking old barriers, sharing in the work. As we find our own space in what has been, we are here to make space for the next person as well. We join in the line and we carry the flame forward.
Across the generations, this flame comes to us.
We are here for the songs, for the justice, for the community, sharing the work.
We are here now, too, to build something new and lasting. We are ready for a new day together.
We join in the line and we carry the flame forward.
Please join us in saying our unison affirmation.
This flame affirms the light of truth, the warmth of community,
And the fire of commitment. Love is the doctrine that we share. Quest for truth is our sacrament, and service is our prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, to serve human need. Thus do we covenant with one another.
It is our custom to provide donations of non-perishable food items and personal care items for Pathways of Hope, a local food bank. Please check the dates on the items. We are unable to donate any items with expired dates. As the children come forward, they are asked to collect the donations placed at the end of rows. And now the children are invited to come forward for the time for all ages.
From your receive to you I give. Together we share, and from this we live. From your receive to you I give. Together we share, and from this we live.
Hello, 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 hello. Maya. Hello, 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 hello. Hello. Hello, hello, hello. Hello. Hi, guys.
Maya, let's take a seat because we have a special guest today for our Time for All Ages because this is a very special month. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Benny. Benny, come down here. Come sit down here. Oh, Maya, take a seat. Take a seat. Yes, excellent. Oh, perfect. We have a very special guest to talk to us today, friends, because we have a special event happening this whole month. It is our Stewardship Month. They talked about it a little bit earlier, but I'm not going to talk to you about stewardship. We have a special reporter on scene to talk to us about stewardship.
Testing, testing. Is this on? I think it's on. Is it? It's on. And cue music. Good afternoon. I'm Josephine Gallegos with Channel 228 Kids News. Today, I'm live at the Unitarian Universalist Congregation in Fullerton, where I investigate a question I think is on all of our minds these days. What exactly is a stewardship drive? Joining me is Unitarian Universalist congregant and girl dad, Ramon Gallegos, who claims to be an expert on the subject.
I never claimed to be an
Mr.
expert.
Gallegos, can you start by defining the word stewardship for us?
Well, Josephine, stewardship simply means to take care of something.
Taking care of something? You mean like babysitting? Because my sister babysits me, and I'm not really in favor of that.
No, not exactly like babysitting. More like taking care of things that belong to others and to everybody. Like in your RE classes, when you use art supplies, after you're done with them, everybody cleans them up and puts them away.
Yeah, why do we do that?
Well, if you didn't do that, then the supplies could get broken or lost, and then nobody would be able to use them.
Huh. So what are some other ways you can be a good steward?
Taking care of our planet is a good one, like picking up trash at the beach, or recycling cans and bottles, or biking to work. Those are ways you can be a good steward, but you could also be a good steward to a smaller community, much like this church congregation.
Right. The church. How does stewardship work here?
To take care of our church, those of us in the congregation offer up our time by volunteering and our talent, much like what you're doing right now with this interview.
I am awfully talented.
And we also give our treasure.
Oh, you mean money. If I'm going to give my money to this church, I'll need a raise in my allowance.
No. It's not the kids that give their money, it's the adults.
Thank goodness.
Or whoever. We donate our money to ensure that the community can thrive, that we can have a minister and a place to meet, that we can gather for dinner, or have special programs, music, RE classes, things of that sort.
Huh, and it's the congregants who donate?
Yep.
But this is a church. Why don't you just ask God for the money?
Well, Josephine, it's actually a really important part of this faith community that you don't have to believe in God to come here. We welcome people with all kinds of beliefs, but that also means we have to be our own stewards, that we support each other to create a caring and connected community so that we can then go out and support the wider community and even the world.
That all sounds really ambitious.
It's a big task, but I know we can do it.
Well, I admire your optimism, but folks, we don't just want to know what stewardship is, we want to know why. What about this church do people like enough that they give it their hard-earned money? For that, we go to the people on the street. Let's see. Maya, what is it you like about this church?
I like my mom and my sister.
Ah, that's sweet. And what about you, Michael? What do you like about coming here?
I like it since we can all be together.
I enjoy the community that I find here.
Well, great answers. There you have it, folks. People like this church enough to donate their time, their time, their talent, and their treasure to be its stewards and help this community thrive. And now back to the studio.
Go with wisdom, go with wonder, go to greet a brand new day. Learn to see the light within you as we send you on your way. Go with wisdom, go with wonder, go to greet a brand new day. Learn to see the light within you as we send you on your way.
And now for a pledge perspective, we bring up Danette Giltonen.
So good morning, everyone. I know it's kind of hard to believe, but another year is come and gone, and our favorite time of the year has arrived. Once again, the UUCF pledge season. For 25 years, I've been a member of this church. When I first arrived, I became part of a group of women who I am still friends with to this day. At that time, we worked on volunteer projects together and we supported each other through the difficulties of middle age. I'm still friends with these women to this day, only now we are supporting each other through the aging process. I can't imagine myself getting through my life without these UU women. But these relationships mean much, much more to me than just getting help through my life. These UU women have inspired me to be a better person. And here's an example that I would like to share with you today. Pat McCulley was a UU woman who started an organization called Círculo de Amigas, and she came to our church looking for volunteers. Círculo de Amigas was set up to help educate young girls in Nicaragua. In this community, although the boys were left in school, it was common practice for the girls to be taken out of school in 2nd or 3rd grade so they could help support their families. When you signed up with Círculo, you agreed to support one child with monthly payments. Part of this money was used to support the struggling family, but most of it was to pay for girls' school expenses. The parents signed a contract and agreed to not take their daughters out of school. I can honestly say that the reason I signed up to take a student was because so many of my friends were doing it, and I would have been embarrassed to refuse to participate. And our social action committee was very involved in encouraging support of Circulo. My student was a 7-year-old named Hemazelidon. So here we are now, 15 years later, and Hema is now 22 years old and has just graduated from the University of Nicaragua with a degree in engineering. I can't even begin to express to you the joy that this brings to me and my husband. Without UUCF in my life 15 years ago, and without the example set by my UUCF friends and this congregation, I would never have had this opportunity to make such a dramatic difference in one person's life. Knowing Hema and watching her work hard over the years to take advantage of what was being offered to her was inspiring. And now that she's an adult, she expresses her gratitude to us on a regular basis, and she calls us her godparents, which is interesting. That decision that we made 15 years ago was a stretch for us at the time. After all, the future was unknown, and it had the potential to be a big, long-term commitment. But we've been rewarded 1,000 times over in the satisfaction and joy that we have gotten in return for our pledge to this young woman. There are so many things that I love about this church. I have been in Soul Matters for 4 years now. Preparing for sessions forces me to truly look at myself and can sometimes be difficult, but the reward to my spiritual development has been worth every minute. I'm very grateful to the volunteers in the small group ministry here at UUCF for giving me and so many others this opportunity. It might seem strange for me to mention how much the Children's RE program means to me. After all, I don't have any kids in the program. I used to think that RE was something that should be supported and paid for by the people who used it. And I wasn't one of those people. I discovered while preparing this talk for today that I have made a complete 180-degree turnaround on this issue. We teach our children respect for diversity, acceptance of others, non-judgmental attitudes towards other religions and cultures, critical thinking, responsibility for the environment, the very values that are needed in the world right now. When I sometimes think that there is nothing I can do about the political mess we're in, I remind myself that there is something I can do. I can support the RE program at UUCF to help build a better future. These are difficult financial times for everyone right now, and I'm going to increase my pledge to UUCF. In planning this talk, it occurred to me that every single penny I give to UUCF goes to serving all of us. There is no CEO here to take a cut off the top. This is a volunteer organization. If I donate $1, UUCF gets $1. not 50 cents on a dollar. So I have decided that since I know UUCF is struggling to keep the lights on, and I only have a certain amount I can give to charities, I am going to give less to other organizations that I support this year, and instead, I'm going to give the difference to UUCF. And I know that every single penny will come back to me 1,000 times over in the form of inspirational friends, spiritual development, and a better future for our kids. Thank you all, and have a very happy UUCF pledge season.
Now time for our joys and sorrows. Those joining us online are invited to share in all caps a joy or sorrow in the comments section. If we do not get to them because of technical issues today, please know that we will look through them this week and put them in the newsletter. A joy this morning for Al Danzig, 96 years old on April 24th. Happy birthday. Looks like we don't have any other joys or concerns. Let's make sure real quickly. Okay. Thank you, Thomas. This is a sorrow from Shelby. Shelby's dear friend Kristen Dwan lost her home in Altadena. 1 month later, her mother, Janet, passed away unexpectedly. This is too much. Love and prayers to Kristen and Janet from Shelby. Shelby, we will light a candle for you. Or Shelby, you can light it. We light a candle also for all our concerns for the larger world. All our concerns. Our wish for peace and justice. Our hopes for the children who will inherit this planet and its problems. May this candle represent all the wishes and calls to action that are more than we can articulate in this space. We now light one more candle for all those joys and concerns and sorrows that remain unexpressed but are still held close to our hearts. And now, please join in saying the affirmation on the screen. We join you in celebrating your joys. May you feel our love and compassion for your sorrows and concerns, for for all that is spoken and unspoken. May the caring of our beloved community sustain us all.
Let us now move into the spirit of meditation, reflection, and prayer. You may close your eyes, take a deep breath, whatever helps you find your center. Shine and Shadow by Catherine McPeak. When the escape from Egypt was certain, when the last furious wave had closed over their enemies' heads, and the dangerous waters lay smooth again, when the Israelites could finally turn toward the future without fear that the past would snatch them back, what did they see before them? Not the promised land, flowing with milk and honey, but the wide and terrifying wilderness that would claim them for 40 long, hard years of wandering. They were not carried along on a surge of vindicated faith, but stumbled forward with paralyzing doubts. And instead of enjoying sweet unity after all they'd been through, they were torn by bickering and division. They walked into relentless uncertainty and discomfort and fell asleep on hard ground to wake feeling ashamed for dreaming of the easier life of slavery they had left behind. Our own stories will never be quite so dramatic, yet each of us knows a little about what it means to be lost in the wilderness. We know the awful disappointment, akin to despair, of being suddenly pathless and alone when we expected to stride confidently straight into the promised land. We know how it feels to take a leap of faith towards some place we want to be, in love or relationship, in work or school or location, only to find that nothing turns out the way we hoped and expected. The familiar has been left behind, but what we yearn for has not yet come into view. And there we are, lost in the desert. We have no way to know how long our wandering will last. These passages through the land of in-between are scary and uncomfortable. And the desert is a place we would rather barrel through as quickly as possible toward the welcoming ground of our destination. But our time in the desert is a passage of the heart, not a physical journey of the body. And it's not in our power to speed it up. I have never been lost in a literal desert, but there was a time in my life when I visited one every year. When I lived in the San Francisco area, every spring for 5 years, I traveled with a friend to the low desert just over the California border into Arizona, where we camped for a week in the middle of nowhere. Every year, the experience was the same. At first, especially after the damp lushness of the Bay Area, the landscape seemed absolutely barren and dead. Then my eyes would adjust, and I'd start to notice all the complicated forms of life that thrive there. The dryness of the air made things crystal clear, even at great distances, and the desert light drew breathtaking colors out of the rocks and shadows. At night, there were the incredible desert stars. I hold my lessons from the southwestern desert close to my heart. They can sustain me through the deserts of the heart and soul. When I wander through the wilderness of the in-between, our inner deserts have something to offer us too. It's hard to fight the impulse to get out of the place of passage as quickly as possible. But each day we spend there, no matter how uncomfortable, is a precious day of our lives. What strange gifts might it offer to us if we can calm ourselves enough to look? After 40 years in the desert, the Israelites in the ancient myth finally reached its end. They touched life-giving waters again and waded into the Jordan, amazed and glad. Maybe they knew, even in that moment of deep relief and readiness, that the desert was not accidental, that it had opened and cleansed them in some necessary way. Maybe they understood how the wilderness had sharpened their awareness and softened their hearts, so they could at long last receive not just the lights, not just the gifts of the promised land, but the gifts of the desert that had brought them there. We are on a journey. We didn't plan it. We didn't have time for the bread to rise. We may find ourselves in the wilderness, hungry, thirsty, doubting that we should have ever come. But look around. We're not alone. It is our journey together, a journey to our better selves, a journey to a better world, a journey to a more promised land.
It was the summer of 1977. I was 3 years old, and my parents took me with them to see Star Wars. But
But
meh. Wasn't really connected to it, even though I remember the theater, I remember the stormtroopers. I wanted to be in the pool or searching for crawdads in the creek more than watching Luke Skywalker's weird relationship with his, spoiler alert, sister, Princess Leia, Luke's, spoiler alert, father. There we go. You got to finish it, right? Thank you for your dedication there, Christine. Over the next 3 weeks, we will travel through different explorations of the Force and hope through 3 different faiths: Judaism and Passover, Christianity and Easter, and then on April 27th, Islam, with a special speaker, one of my favorite professors from Claremont School of Theology, Najiba Saeed. As you have welcomed me as a progressive Christian minister to this congregation, I am excited to journey through the different faiths and holidays, not to appropriate, not to stress any certain religion, but for us to be informed and be better neighbors. It is undeniable that the Star Wars movies dealt with spiritual themes. Many friends in seminary actually wrote some really cool papers on it. And in fact, some actually made connections with specific Star Wars movies and each faith. Empire Strikes Back, Christianity. Return of the Jedi, Islam. And A New Hope with Judaism. We start today with Judaism and Passover. And I want to go through a bit of a refresher. Thomas did it so well, but we'll do it in like 1 minute or so. The Jewish people, a suffering and determined people. The Israelites, living a life of enslavement to the Egyptians. And yet, what is celebrated right now is their journey towards freedom. Their commitment to that which was bigger than their individual selves. Their God and their community and their faith. They celebrate their exodus. The prophet Moses served as a conduit between these people of faith and their God, and he led them from a life of enslavement in Egypt to the promised land through a desert and a rough 40 years. We have a Pharaoh who, previous to this exodus, held these people in bondage in Egypt with a hardened heart. He didn't let the Hebrew slaves go, even when hearing a plea from the divine, nor after a series of plagues were inflicted upon his people. He didn't let them leave until the firstborn son of every Egyptian household was killed. We have the Israelites whose sons were saved from this fate, who were passed over as Moses instructed them to paint the blood of a lamb on their doorsteps, letting God know that those households were the homes of the Israelites, permitting their children to live. After this divine opportunity, they quickly fled from their homes, bringing with them for sustenance their unleavened bread. Escaping so quickly, there was no time for the dough to rise. They wandered through the desert for 40 years, searching for the promised land. We have just amazing images: a burning bush, the parting of the Red Sea, creating dry ground for the Israelites to escape on, the waters crashing down behind the escaping Israelites onto the Egyptians in pursuit, killing them all. This story is actually more interesting than Star Wars to me. It is a story of freedom and of miracles and stories of determined intentionality. The story of Passover is crucial to the Jewish faith. It is a story of hope and promise. The Israelites were committed to a better life and committed to healing, just as I hope are each one of us. Healing is a commitment. Think about if you've ever had a surgery and the work that is you have to put through after it. It's a hard commitment. Healing on a smaller, more individual scale may require therapy or 12-step groups. Yet in the triumphant story of today, healing is an exodus from a land of enslavement. These individual Israelites, in committing to a better life, dedicated their lives to something much greater than their individual selves. In this story, there are never individuals, but a community, the faith community to which they were each committed. And there was a commitment to their holy, a much greater entity, who these Israelites called God. In devoting themselves to something bigger and dedicating themselves to a better life, they committed to a life of trust amongst doubt, to leaving one hardship only to enter into the unknown. How many of us have done that before? To a life intertwined with harshness and then miracles and intentionality. We can learn from this story. We can emulate this. We can truly enter into a state of healing and betterment when we take the focus out of ourselves, out of the me, if you will, and instead direct it towards those things that are greater than our individual selves, the we. Just as the Israelites did. They escaped for the better of the whole, for the betterment of their faith community. So too can we escape our afflictions by bettering our own community right here. Reacting to stigma with activism or to an untimely death with a medical career, healing ourselves while working to heal the greater whole that surrounds us. So too is this with the sacred, whatever that may be in each of us. Living by having faith that there is something much greater than ourselves. Doesn't have to be God. It can be nature. It can be this community, as we have heard in so many testimonies this morning. These can help orient us, give us meaning, and give us direction when we feel lost and destitute. Rabbi Menachem Schneerson wrote that the theme of Exodus enables us to undergo a personal exodus from Egypt by transcending our individual limits deep. In each of our lives, we undergo some type of exodus from the harmful to the healing. And when we do this within the embrace of community, we transcend our own limitations. This is what we are reminded of today. We are invited to depart from our pain with such haste that our bread cannot leaven. They were committed to their faith, following Moses, to whom the divine gave instructions out of the bondage of slavery and into the wilderness and the desert. They were committed as they followed an unknown and unknowable path, just as our paths often are, or as these next 4 years will be. Author Bruce Feiler urges us to enter into this very story ourselves as people in bondage. What do we feel as we experience the divine, nature, community for the first time? Awe, fear, apprehension, liberation, perhaps a sense of expectation. He suggests we embrace an ignorance of our own holy, an acknowledgement that we can't truly understand the sacred. He expresses an inherent need for a sacred being, just as the Israelites did, as expressed in the Passover story. The rabbi notes that we each need to commit to something bigger than ourselves, even if we don't understand it. Only then were the Israelites free. Only then, when we connect to something greater than ourselves, to the environment, to this community, to nature, only then are we free. And yet, when we connect with something greater than ourselves, we do not simply mean the divine, we also mean each other. Like we did last night at a circle supper with Jer and Linda. In a community, breaking bread together. The Israelites were a group, a people of faith, committed to each other's freedom in ways that produced their own individual freedom. It would be exceedingly difficult to find freedom and healing while isolated. Think about that. Would a random assortment of people fleeing from bondage make it? Could the Israelites have survived if they embarked on individual journeys? It's my trip, not anybody else's. What about us? Here, right now. Could we make it without those in our immediate surroundings? Our friends, our family, our families of choice? Could we make it without those in our broader communities? Because right now it is a heavy load to carry it all on our own. We are called to work intentionally for personal healing and to embrace that sacred opportunity to use our healing to better the interdependent web of which we are all a part. We survive because of each other, and we flourish because of each other. We heal when we help others heal. The story of Passover also reminds us of trust amongst doubt. The Israelites trusting Moses, get this, for 40 years, even when their minds may have been filled with doubts, yet eventually making it to the promised land. Doubts, perhaps, in crossing of the Red Sea, and yet they were met with a miracle and able to pass through what was seemingly impossible. As the story goes, when they arrived at the banks of the sea, when they saw nothing but an impassable expanse of water, with trust in the sacred and in their community, they continued on this journey. For as Moses waved his arm over the sea, So did the divine part the waters and make way for the tired travelers. When met with doubt, their faith and their community brought them a way forward with their trust in their community and in something bigger than themselves. The Israelites trusting the journey, trusting what was greater than themselves, trusting that if they kept going, they would find a better life. And somehow filled with doubt on their own path towards healing. But yet they continued this difficult journey filled with basic trust. Trust in each other and trust in the whole. They kept on their wandering journey for 40 years and made it. This trust is a commitment to healing, just as we each need to trust our own journeys as we actively work toward betterment. Not only is this basic need for trust, there's that scary endeavor of leaving what is known, even if what is known is hardship. It is a common tale that a potential unknown in the future is even scarier than what we are facing now, even if our current predicament is one of hardship. The Israelites faced this. They were in bondage of slavery and looking for a better life, so they fled. They fled into the unknown with such haste. Their bread didn't rise. They fled into the unknown of the wilderness, into the mysterious and dangerous desert that had surrounded them their entire lives. They fled to freedom itself, an unknown amongst a community of slaves with not much more than that sacred commitment to a better life. They left what they always knew and took that first timid and yet empowered step into the unknown. And in that unknown, it was hard. Desert life at its core is one of suffering, especially if all one is armed with are meager belongings, basic food, and trust. And yet, with these limited belongings, they as a people, even if not as individuals, they survived for 40 years, eventually finding the promised land. We can emulate this. We can leave behind that which is harming us, departing from what is troubling us, committing ourselves to a better life, even if it is scary. We can leave our own lives for that of the promised land. Here's an example. Picture that woman stuck in a painful marriage, suffering from abuse, where she was yet terrified of what would happen if she left, venturing into the unknown, and yet she did this. She survived and she thrived. There's so many stories like this of intentionality, of deliberately working to create a better life, just as the Israelites did. I want you to think of times in your life that this has happened. And also be intentional about what this community means to you during this pledge drive. I know right now I could not do it alone, sitting at home, watching MSNBC and seeing how the sausage is made. It is not humanly possible right now to take on the weight of the world without community. And the love in this room, the love for humanity, what we teach in RA, that commitment and that intentionality is what will make us successful, no matter what's going on out there. Of meeting doubt with trust, of connecting with community, with the sacred, just as the Israelites followed Moses to freedom. We don't know what the next 4 years holds. We don't know what tomorrow holds. There could be a bus with my name on it. But we know the people in this place and space. Space. We know the Force, as Star Wars movies talk about. That love and energy that makes up this community, even when things are difficult. And we know commitment as we do our pledge drive. And we know we cannot sit idly by, but must move forward. How do we do that? Remember in 2017, the Me Too movement? Better together, right? Si se puede. We can do this, but we can do it only together, not as singular beings, with hope towards our own promised land in our hearts and in this sacred space.
At UUCF, we embrace the possibility of a world filled with peace, acceptance, joy, and love. By our financial commitment, we help this congregation through its maintenance, mission, and ministries, making those possibilities real in a challenging world. A basket is being brought around the sanctuary, or there are payment options on the screen. Whatever you are able to give is received with gratitude. We thank you for your commitment and generosity.
So we are going to be singing as our closing hymn, Wade in the Water. And this song, although it is reflective of the Israelites and their escape, is actually an important code song from the Underground Railroad, a warning to follow the river and keep an eye out for friendly folk. As Walter Rhett in Black History 360 writes, people think this song is about Moses and Exodus, but the troubled waters the spiritual refers to are in the New Testament verse. The conventional wisdom of history contends the song sent a signal to runaway slaves. Use the river so the hounds can't trace you. Tonight is the moment for flight. Move swiftly. The reaction will be fierce. As we sing this, we want to think of not just the Israelites, although it is reflection of what happened with them, but we want to think about this song as it might have been a lifeline to people. Let us honor the ancestors of those who are descended from the enslaved Africans, from the Israelites, from any enslaved people, because they did survive, and their descendants live today, fighting for what should always have been theirs, freedom. So join me, stand as you're willing and able, to sing Wade in the Water. Wade in the water, wade in the water, children, wade in the water. God's gonna trouble the water. See that man all dressed in white. God's gonna trouble the water. The
Yeah. Wonderful. Let us join hands together. By the way, our caring listener is Christina Garner. You can speak with her after the service. Karen Anderson is our on-call caring listener. Her number is in the directory, and you can send her a text to set up a call at your convenience, or you can reach out to her today via Zoom. If you have any other concerns or simply would like to talk to someone, you can always call me. My number is in the directory, and I would be happy to spend some time with you. For these parting words, we are going to have a travel, if you will, through the Abrahamic religions. Now, you may have a belief in it, you may have no beliefs. That is what makes this special. But in each of these stories, in between the lines, holds wisdom, like the story of Passover. Take what you like and leave the rest, and love. We now extinguish this chalice, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts wherever we may go. And so we say together, Amen, Shalom, Salam, Namaste, and blessed be. Go now in peace. May the Spirit of God surround you everywhere, everywhere you may go. Go now in peace. Go now in peace. Go now in peace. Go now in peace. May the Spirit of love surround you everywhere, everywhere you may go. Absolutely. Yes. What time would you like to?